Some of us knit, some of us crochet. And when we knit and crochet, we like to start a project. But it's always important to finish a project you started before you start a new project, especially with a new ball of yarn. Because you don't want to have too many projects going, or else you could end up with a tangled mess. Been there, done that, never want to go back. Hi everybody, it's Mena. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is the very first video that you're seeing of me, then welcome to my channel. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you didn't already. I post every day except for Tuesday and Friday afternoon sometimes, and today I have a Knit With Me story time for you guys. And today's Knit With Me story time is going to be the time I was crocheting, and I first started out with crocheting and I didn't know how to finish a project, and I accidentally started way too many projects to the point where all of my yarn was just a jumbled, tangled mess. So this is a story about how I would start, anytime I started a project, I would stop and not finish it, but then I started too many projects that were not even done, and all of the yarn that I had in a bag was in a tangled mess. So this is a story just to teach you guys, if you are knitters or crocheters and you start a project, finish the project you started before you start a new one, because you don't want to end up with a giant tangled mess like I did, because that's not fun. It is just a pain to untangle your yarn, and I'm sure you guys, if you're knitters or crocheters, you all totally understand how frustrating it can be when you end up with a giant tangled mess, and it's a pain to get rid of. So always finish a project you started before you go on to a new one. So I'm going to get started, and that's also for anything that you're doing, whether it's woodwork, doing chores. Finish one thing at a time before you start a new one, or else you can end up with an overwhelming mess if you don't finish something. So I'm going to get started, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. So this all started almost about 21 years ago. I was about 12 years old. This was when I first learned how to crochet. If you didn't see my full crochet journey story, I will leave the link in the description box down below. And I got all this yarn for my birthday in a pink bag. I don't even have the bag anymore, but I'll describe what it looked like as best as I can. So it was a woven bag. It was almost like a basket-like bag, but it wasn't anything like that. It was just a bag I got as a gift for my birthday, and I got all this yarn in because I was first learning how to crochet, and I was very excited. I used to go down to this little yarn shop in my city. Sadly, the yarn shop went out of business almost a year ago. It was a local yarn shop that gave me crochet lessons from some really nice, sweet elderly ladies, and I was crocheting. I would start one project and then I wouldn't finish it. But then I'd move on to another project, wouldn't finish that, move on to another project. I don't know, and finish and not finish that. So I don't know why I started too many projects. I think maybe because all of my pieces look like a trapezoid and stuff, and I wasn't working out because I didn't know how to crochet the right way. I'm not the best at crocheting, but I kept trying and trying and trying. But each time I wouldn't finish a project and I got kind of frustrated, so I would take a break. So this one particular day, I go to start crocheting, and I realized all of my yarn is tangled into one giant big knot. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I show this to my mom, and she's like, what happened? And I was like, I think I accidentally started way too many projects and unraveled them, and now my yarn is tangled. And she goes, uh-oh. Oh, so maybe next time, why don't you start one project at a time before you and finish it? And I said, that's a pretty good idea. So I go to this yarn shop, and it was a local yarn store. Sadly, this yarn store went out of business about a year ago, I think. And the ladies came in, and I used to go in there and crochet with these very sweet little old ladies who would help me with my crocheting all the time. And they looked at my yarn, and they saw I had everything in a big giant mess. And I told them what had happened, and they also gave me the same advice that my mom had given me, is to start one project at a time. So because they told me how important it is to finish one project before starting a new one, because everything ended up in just a tangled mess. So they were able to help me untangle all of the yarn and everything. We had to cut some of it off, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. So what we did was they cut off every single yarn that was all tangled and was unable to be untangled. And they were very nice and helped me out. So I was very happy that they were able to help me untangle all of the yarn. And they helped me get it all organized and everything, wrapped it all back up so nothing would end up all tangled up. So then once that was done, I ended up grabbing a blue skein of yarn, and it was a scarf I had started with my friend because I was teaching her how to crochet, because she kind of wanted to learn how to crochet, but she didn't end up liking it because it was very difficult for her to pick up. But I ended up finishing the project for her, even though it didn't turn out the way I planned, because it looked like a trapezoid, because at the time I didn't really know how to crochet properly. So I kept going and going, which was a good thing, until the project was done. And I was also very happy that I was able to get some help getting my yarn untangled, which was a good thing. And this definitely taught me a lesson to only start one project at a time. And mostly I do one project at a time, but sometimes when I need to get something done, I do have 2 different row counters. So technically I still didn't really learn my lesson, but most of the time I do one project at a time so I can get it done. So the moral of the story is, if you ever knit or crochet, it's good to, and you want to start a project, start a couple projects, maybe start with one at a time. Just to make sure you don't end up with a tangled mess of your yarn, because sometimes that can happen. And you don't want to put a project away and not finish it, then start a new project, because all of your yarn could end up really messy and everything. And maybe a good idea is, if you do have 2 projects going, keep them in 2 separate bags, so then you can keep them from getting tangled or something. But most of the time I would recommend just starting one project at a time to make it easy on yourself. So that was a story about how I ended up with a tangled mess when I accidentally had too many crochet projects going that were unfinished. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I post every day except for Tuesday and Friday afternoon sometimes, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. We all knit and crochet. Well, actually, I don't like this intro.